Christy, we're standing here at the market cross in the medieval town of Athenry, just outside of the Athenry Heritage Centre here. The market cross is a focal point of the town. So can you give us a bit of an idea of what activities might have happened around the market cross?
Well, first of all, this is the marketplace. Generally, where you have the medieval parish church, the market takes place around the parish church itself, and often even spills in on top of the graveyard during that early period, during the 12th, 13th, 14th century. The cross itself, I suppose, it serves as a few things. It's a focal point. It's a very important marker, if you like, within the medieval town, a marker of this commercial space. It's a place where bargains and deals were sealed. It's also, I suppose, really the centre of the town per se. And if you look at that here in Athenry, you see that all the roads coming into Athenry merge on the marketplace and on this central place within the town.
So it's really a focal point of both religious and kind of secular life as well. And on top of the market cross, we have very, very Christian iconography here. In fact, we do have a Christian cross. Can you tell us something about the style of cross and
Yes.
what's on the face of it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's described as a lantern style cross. And, it's different to the normal cross. It's not your standard shaft and transom. It has this lantern head, this unusual head that just, it almost terminates in almost a shrine-like finish. And on the two major faces of the cross itself, on one side we actually have the crucifixion. So we have
that's on the side, facing away from us.
Facing away from the parish church at the moment. So on that side we have a crucifixion scene, and at the bottom of the crucifix we see Mary and St. John. So that's a typical crucifixion scene that we get. And then on this side we actually have a Virgin and Child. So we have Our Lady here with the child in her arms. And also what you see on it is a lot of that decorative device there, the vine leaf. The vine leaf was a stock and trade of this period, this 15th century style. So the vine leaf itself represents the Eucharist or Christ. So everything there is very, very religious in that sense.
So just on the base of the cross, this kind of small section around here, we've got a couple of very worn carvings, but carvings that if you get close enough, then you can see look like kind of beasts and animals. Is there any kind of significance to this, or what might the images on the cross be?
Well, first of all, those particular beasts, again, like the vine leaf, they're the motifs that you find in that late medieval period, that 15th, 16th century period. And they originate in what we call the bestiaries, or what they call the physiologus, this notion of the physical world. And the bestiaries themselves are actually the books of beasts that were created during the medieval period. And their function, I suppose, in a way was almost like an encyclopedia, that people could look at the book and they could see the different types of images, different animals that were right across the world, the known world or the mythical world. And this sort of intertwining of mythical beasts and real animals is basically what occurs. And then, of course, what happens is they're absorbed into both religious symbolism, that they're used as to symbolize particular stories within religion, but also they're absorbed into heraldry as well. So what we actually see here is we see a mix of heraldic and religious beasts.
Okay. So just beneath the Madonna and Child here, we have what appears to be a griffin. Is there a significance of the use of the griffin, or again, is this just a heraldry symbol that is being placed onto the cross?
Well, the griffin itself is quite a strong character, because the griffin is actually made up of two different beasts. To take the eagle, which is, if you like, the king of the birds, and the lion, which is the king of the beasts. And you have this amalgamation of the two. So you find that you have the feathers and the chest and that of the eagle and the talons of the eagle, but at the same time you can have the body of a lion and other components of the lion. So you're looking at something that's really linked, I suppose, to the whole thing of the church, the power of the church, power of Christ, and that type of notion.
Just on this side of the cross here, we have these two interlocking beasts. And while the carving is worn away, we have a suggestion of what these might actually be. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. The particular beasts we see there are what we refer to as Yale. We really couldn't see them very clearly when we looked at them first. But once you have undertaken the photogrammetry here on this, they have come out a lot stronger.
And what exactly are Yale?
Yale, again, they're mythical. They're mythical. They're not real beasts. They're not real animals per se. But what they actually are is they're a pair of beasts with intertwining necks and the heads turned backwards. This is very common in medieval art, especially in sculpture, where the necks are intertwined, wrapped around each other, and the heads themselves then sort of look back over the shoulder. It's part of the formula, if you like, of how they're presented. But the Yale itself is one of these animals that normally is shown, we'd say, in the likes of the bestiary itself, as a two-horned animal. And if it's in battle, it uses one of its horns. It can actually swing the other one back a bit, keep it back so it doesn't get damaged. And if the first one gets damaged or hurt, it can now exchange the horns. But for the sculptor who's carving here in stone, what we get is just one singular horn appearing that emerges from the forest and sort of hangs down over the face. In one way, it almost looks like a unicorn, but it's not that straight notion of a unicorn. They're quite rare. They're to be found in lots of places. But we're fortunate here in Galway to have the pair that we have here on the Market Cross at Athenry from the 15th century. We have another pair on that very fine perpendicular west doorway in Clontuskert. And we have another pair that literally emerged out of nowhere in the last number of years at Cartron House between Kiltormer and Aughrim. We're not sure where they came from, but possibly came from the Augustinian house in Aughrim, but we're not sure. Yes. There's nothing left of that, so we can't be certain.
It shows this high level of carving within the county as well.
Absolutely.
On the other side of the cross, then, we have more intertwined beasts. And just on this corner here, we have what appear to be a dragon or two dragons kind of interlocked.
It's a difficult one to decipher because, despite the best efforts of photogrammetry and scanning and that, sadly, this is a limestone cross, and it has suffered very badly from erosion, simply from the atmosphere, town atmosphere. Unlike what we've seen in Clontuskert and other places, I'm afraid that the smoke and the air pollution that we've had over the last couple of 100 years has actually affected this and dissolved quite a bit of the limestone. But we are looking at two animals there. It's hard to know exactly what we're looking at. We may be looking at perhaps a lion and a griffin, or maybe we're actually looking at a little wyvern or dragon, maybe a pair of dragons. It's hard to know. I'm not fully sure what's happening there.
But again, we're looking at part of this large bestiary collection.
Yes.
That there's some symbology that is going on.
Absolutely, and this is what's happening here. These are better understood to the people of the medieval period, or at least to the carvers and to the clerics and that were here in the town during the medieval period. Yes. Whereas we have lost a lot of the understanding of the symbolism that was applied to them. Yes. We can put them into the context of, we'll say, the various heraldic devices and that, but from a religious perspective, we have lost quite a bit of it.
Yeah. And on the same side of the cross, just a little bit further along, there's a beast kind of leaning around the corner. Now, we think it might be a lion, and then there's a smaller animal kind of leaning up towards its mouth. Again, maybe a cat and mouse, or maybe a lion and something else.
It's hard to know again, because most of the head is dissolved there again. But if you look at the feet, it is a quadruped. It is a four-legged animal, anyway, whatever it is. Probably a lion or a cat. And if you look at the feet, you can clearly see that there are extended, not talons, but more claws. But the claws themselves and the nails are very extended. Yes. So it was meant to be powerful and almost grasping.
And Christy, finally, on the far side of the cross, underneath the crucifixion scene, we have a carving of an antelope with a chain along its neck. Can you explain the significance of that to us?
Well, the antelope itself, in this particular example, is shown here with a very well-defined antler or horn. And when you look at it, you can actually see it's clearly heavily fretted or serrated. And that's one of the, if you like, as part of the symbolism of the particular motif. It was seen as capable of literally felling a forest. Okay. This is one of its powers. But the other thing is that it is a heraldic device, and it's used on the coats of arms of Henry IV, V, and VI. So it's important from that perspective. And mainly Henry VI takes this into vogue. And usually you see the antelope, as we've already stated, with a chain on it. The chain is sort of that heraldic device.
Yeah. Finally, Christy, just here on this corner, we have an angel. And again, I wasn't quite sure if it's holding a banner or a musical instrument or a sword. But can you explain the significance of this?
Well, the fact that it's holding something in this case, to me, when I first saw it, my first thought was a banner. It is turned up like a scroll at the corner, and it does extend past the other hand, so it's as if the angel is holding a banner. But equally so, it could be a lute. It could be a musical instrument. But I'm more inclined to think that it's actually a banner, and in that context, it's actually a heraldic angel. And this is quite common. If you look at the chancel arch, for example, in Clonfert Cathedral, which is a similar date to this,
yes.
Late medieval, that's second half of the 15th century, you will see several angels there carrying banners, and some of them carrying shields. The same with Clontuscar doorway. You will see angels bearing shields, and the same in Kilconnell underneath the tower. You will see angels bearing shields, and on those shields would either have been carved either the arms of Christ, or maybe a motto in some cases on the banners that could be a prayer, or it could actually be a name of the person that actually erected this cross here in Athenry.
So marking the patron of the cross.
It could be marking the patron, or it could simply be heraldic. It could have been maybe the motto of Athenry either.
Yes. So the market cross exists in its current form outside of the Athenry Heritage Centre here today. If people wanted to visit and see what a reconstruction of the cross was like, there is a reconstruction inside, and this would have been much taller. Much bigger.
Much taller. The shaft itself would have been much taller. The reproduction inside shows the base as much lower. It actually shows two steps. What we have here is a 3-stepped cross, a typical Calvary cross. But in fact, the plinth here is actually it's another step, if you like.
Yes.
So, and somewhere around 1810, it suggested that this cross was re-erected or rebuilt here.
Okay.
So what we see here could be a remodeling, or it could just be a reconstruction of what was here that might have fallen with that. But certainly the shaft would be much longer, and if we were to walk around the cross itself, we'll see that the upper part of the cross, that lantern part, was actually open in places. So you were getting this notion of a tabernacle. Thus, lantern or tabernacle cross. They're also known as a tabernacle. So it is a tabernacle presenting both Christ crucified and the Virgin Mary, the Madonna and Child.
Thanks, Christy. And if people want to find out more about the cross here, they can visit the Athenry Heritage Centre.